Welcome to the greatest show on earth.
Last night I cut the light off in my bedroom, hit the switch, was in the bed before the room was dark.
This is combat culture.
Welcome to the greatest show on earth.
This is combat culture. Welcome to the greatest show on earth.
I'm so mean I make medicine sick. That's bad.
This is combat culture.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to Combat Culture Africa. On the mic again today is Young Jollof Oche Edache. Right beside me is Chidi BBOYDIML Nwankwo.
What's good?
And beside him is Innocent Skelly Edache.
Holla at your boy.
Right across from him is Mayo Icebox Okunu,
AKA the Minister of Fitness.
aka the Minister of Fitness. And right beside him, our special guest of the day, Machine Gun Shegz in the house.
Machine gun.
Machine Gun Shegz.
Is that a pace thing? Is that a hand speed thing? What is that?
Actually, it came from something like that. Yes.
Cool.
So I had this dude where we used to spar very often, and I would come at him like a machine gun. And I overheard him talking to his guys like, that guy, nah, man, don't fight that guy. Just rush you like machine gun.
Awesome.
Was the guy a boxer?
Both, yes. He was a boxer and a kickboxer, so he was pretty decent.
Man, so let's start there now. What's your story?
When you say what's my story, what does that
How
mean?
did all this shit get started for you?
I started as just a regular fitness enthusiast, and like every other young dude, you want to look good, you want to be toned, and you want to be physically fit, and that was where I started, and I just did what I could, and along the lines, I got involved in modeling. So I used to model, and I remember after my first auditions, that was the height of intimidation. Like, I met guys that were 6'2", 3, 4, 5, and they were buff as, and then I'm just 6 foot, and I barely have any muscles to intimidate the next day. So I took it a bit more seriously, and I started hitting the gym and trying to get some more meat on my bones. And I met this photographer. His name is Ras. Big ups to Ras, by the way. Yeah. And he used to be very into taekwondo then. He was an instructor. And, we just hit it off from the photo shoot. And, he's like, what, dude, you seem like a cool guy. You should come by and let's do some taekwondo together. I'm like, ooh, I was very excited.
How long ago was this?
Maybe 11, 10 years ago. So I went for one session and it blew me away. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to become the best I can. And, I would search online for stuff to, practice. I would go for every session. Then I was still in school. I studied in the University of Abuja. Okay. So I would leave from Gwagwalada to town every day or every 2 days to come train and then go back. And I would I would request for take-home assignments, like what should I do before Saturday, and he would be like, you know what, you should do this, and I used to be really stiff. And one of my big problems was trying to loosen up and be flexible, and if you know anything about taekwondo is flexibility. You have to be loose, you have to be light on your feet, and it was a painful process stretching and trying to get flexible. And I would, take those assignments. I would go home and I would practice 2-3 times a day. I remember my neighbors used to think I was crazy, and they would peek through their windows like, what's this guy doing again? This night? You should be probably sleeping or doing something else. Or early in the morning, and, somebody looks through the window like, this guy again. Anyways, I kept doing that for a while, and I got my first black belt in 2.5 years. Wow. Yes. I think after a few months of training, I met GRANDMASTER DOMINIC BASSEY. He's one of the elite taekwondo grandmasters in Nigeria. You can research on that. And he just took a liking to me, and of course, for me, it was just a privilege to be able to learn with some of the best at anything. And I bet at some point he was tired of having me because I was on his neck. Like, sir, can I come today? It's like, no, I'm busy. Okay, how about tomorrow? Like, if you can't do now, tell me when, and I'll be there.
Do you know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of like if you've ever been in an example, this reminds me of that kid that always raised their hand like extra sheets.
Annoying ass kid.
So in school,
was Kelly the kid?
No, I was not.
Are you sure?
Why would I be
I feel like
that
you used to ask for extra paper.
it depends on the subject.
That's why I was quiet.
Depends on the subject.
yeah, so anyways, it just started like that, and I was getting better. I was seeing results. I was getting stronger. I was getting more flexible. I think it took me about a year to get from being stiff, as stiff as they get, someone who pushes a lot of weight, to being able to split. That was one of my, I remember when I got my blue belt, I'm like, dude, before you get a black belt, you have to be able to split. And I would painfully just deal with myself. And it was tough. But, I finally got there, and, I kept practicing. It was almost an obsession, maybe even an obsession. And I would try, and I wanted to try new things. I wanted to, get better. And I always wanted to impress my instructors. I wanted them to look at me like, okay, I see you've been doing your homework. And over time, I think it did happen like that. And so when we have like group sessions with, a bunch of other guys, they're like, can't you do it like Segun? Can't you do it like Segun? Oh yeah, Segun, come on, do it, let him see. It was fun from one angle, but at the same time, it's like, don't put me on the spotlight all the time. Anyways, my efforts, did show, and from there it just kept growing. I after I got my first damn black belt in taekwondo, I wanted to get more. I'm like, so this is it. I wanted more. And I remember sparring this boxer some years ago, and he handed my ass to me, literally. And I'm like, you know what? I need to go learn how to box. I need to get better at boxing. And, I started training boxing. I started training judo. I competed in judo as well. I think I got a bronze medal in the FCT paramilitary games.
Amazing.
And, then I was also competing in taekwondo. I think I won 2 gold medals and 1 silver, I think. Yes, I lost the final. There's this tall dude that just ripped me off. But he won me fair and square, so no. I can't argue with that one. And so I got into boxing. I started doing some judo. A couple years after, I got into jiu-jitsu, and I was just trying to like build my skill, and because I wasn't just interested in learning how to just do it. I wanted to understand. For me, it was almost intellectual. I want to understand. I want to know better than the next man. I want to have something, and that just led me to. I'm always open to learning. I always say I love being a student and a teacher, because over the years as I trained, I also taught a lot of people. I taught schools, primary, secondary schools, taekwondo back then, and but then everything I was doing as far as martial arts is concerned was on the side, because I was in school studying law. And
oh wow, you're a lawyer.
Oh yes, I am. Yes, I am. 2017 call. And then I was an undergrad when I started doing all those things, and over time, I started branching out and trying to get more things, and add to my arsenal. And many years later, here we are. I met a few people, and a few people liked me and tried to get me along and try to teach me things, and my head is always down. If you have something I want to learn from you, my head is like this, just bring it on. I want to learn as much as I can.
Really
I want to learn as much as I can. And that was one of the ways I met this dude right here.
It's a waste man. our last boy.
Wait, see Shegz is here. I'm not anymore.
How old are you, Shegz? That's a good question.
I'm 28 years old.
Wow.
Yes.
Amazing.
I'm 28 years old.
That's the same age as me, man.
I disagree. That's false.
He's the same age as him, 2 years older than him.
He said it's false.
So over time, I've tried to, as far as I want to hone my skills, I also try to compete, because that's where you get to test what you've learned.
Absolutely.
And unfortunately, I haven't competed in boxing yet, but every other martial arts I've been involved in, I have competed, and kickboxing and taekwondo and judo. I haven't done some jiu-jitsu as well because
Where would you do it here?
exactly. But I've been lucky enough to find very experienced coaches and trainers and practitioners, and I've learned a whole lot. And you know, I just want to get better, man. And I hope that in the coming years, there's more opportunities and we can, you know, showcase ourselves.
Yeah, of course.
And you know, so that's where it is.
So why don't we tell us about ABV? In fact, what does ABV even stand for? I've been
So-
meaning to ask you.
Yeah, you know, you're not the first to ask that question. And actually, ABV is pretty simple. Have you traveled from Abuja to anywhere
That's
before?
the airport symbol.
Yes, so it's just the short code for Abuja Kickboxing. That's all it means.
I swear, you didn't know.
Yeah.
Both of us are showing you.
So it started with, I had a friend and I used to learn from him, Chinasa Anyogu. He used to fight in the EFC. You know, he's very well versed. Yeah, he's very well versed in the martial arts. So I met him, and you know, we used to work together and train together, and we were like, you know what, you cannot just stop at just training, and let's try to make a franchise. And so the mindset behind it is we are trying to, or we look to get to a point where we lock down kickboxing in Abuja. Everything else can be anywhere else. But as far as kickboxing, we want to have that stronghold on kickboxing as far as Abuja is concerned. Maybe in the future we can try to branch out and reach other states. But as far as Abuja is concerned, you know, we're trying to get that thing together where we want to stand for kickboxing. If anything kickboxing is happening in Abuja, we have to know, or probably we are part of it, or probably we are behind the scenes trying to make things work. And you know, so everything we can do to make it better and try to expand and get the word out there, you know, that's the mindset behind ABV Kickboxing.
What year did you set ABV up?
This was in 2016 actually.
So 6 years.
Yeah, 2016.
It's
Literally
crazy.
when I started
Yeah, you don't know
training.
mathematics.
Yeah.
5 years, man.
It's crazy that he's 28.
Yeah.
That's the most impressive thing about you.
Ironically,
you were older.
I kept saying I wish I got exposed to martial arts earlier.
That's what
Because
we all say.
I think I wish, oh my, I wouldn't have been bullied. Like I was bullied a lot. All those times when I'm so mad, I'm fetching a bucket of water or I'm sleeping under someone's bed. I'm angry, but there's nothing I can do.
outlets.
I wish I was, you know, more exposed to it, you know, way earlier. And maybe a lot of bullies would have had some more respect for me. Like, hey, just don't bully that guy.
But you see something, right? Your story is interesting because you've done all this building the past 10 years. And now you are getting you were on African Knockout AKA last year, right?
Yep.
Was that your first like real foray into like the spotlight of competing, where there were a lot of eyes on you, or was that just another was it just another competition for you? Did that open up doors? Were there opportunities?
So first things first, it was my first MMA competition. It was the first time I competed in MMA, so there's that for AKO. But it wasn't the first time I was on the spotlight or had to be in a competition. I think I've been competing for a few years, but I think 2018 was when I had a national level of exposure when I competed in the national festival. And I represented Abuja, and of course I came out on top. I won the gold medal, and you know,
In what discipline?
in Kung Fu actually. So it's called Wushu Sanda.
I see.
So it's kind of like kickboxing, but you're allowed to you don't wear shin guards, and you can kick the legs, and you can actually throw your opponent down. In kickboxing, it's not allowed to even clinch, but in Wushu Sanda, you're allowed to clinch. And as at then, I felt like I had an advantage in that respect. Yeah. So I'm like, you know what, I should try out on this one first and see how that goes.
amazing.
And you know, to be honest, I'm not tooting my horn, but I didn't sweat.
Wow.
Literally.
Wow.
It was
It was a walk in the park.
it was fun. It was fun. It was exciting.
So is that because you're that good, or the people just weren't as versed in the art, or is it a bit of both?
I think it's a bit of both. So I wouldn't just take all the glory like I'm that good. I'm just balling.
But you felt like a different area.
Yeah, but it was just it was a bit of both, just like you said. I had some good opponents and I had some not so good ones. But at the end of the day, I think being able to showcase your skill with all the pressure is that's where the real growth happens. And for me, I just took I took pleasure in just being able to get there and just come out victorious. And it was very, very interesting.
Regarding AKO, that was last year, right? 2020.
2020, yeah.
Okay. Tell us about AKO, from the application process to them scout. Did you scout them? Did they scout you? How did you get in? What was your experience like in Lagos? What was your opponents like? Give us the full unadulterated gist.
Okay, so AKO means African Knockout, and they are owned by a body called 54 Limited, I think. And they are looking to do the same thing they did here in every state in Africa. I think that's like their ultimate goal. And I was scouted. I think after my win in 2018, a few people noticed. And some people reached out to me like, hey dude, there's this big thing coming up, are you interested? And to be honest, I was a bit skeptical about it at first, because this is Nigeria, where like, are you sure these people are serious? Let's not have them waste our time. And I think I even told B-Boy here about it, and they gave details. They had us send videos of our training, sparring.
Heavy bag, right?
Yeah, heavy bag, pad work, competition, and then we also had to send videos of like our background, like a profile. And I remember when I got in the house, they told us they had shortlisted 150 people, and out of 150, they were able to cut down to 22. So 22 of us made it into the camp, and I think they still cut out about 3 or 4 people, and altogether we went into the AKO arena. It was Landmark Hotel in Lagos, and I think we were 14 that got into the house, but they eliminated 4 people right outside, right off the back. So the first day we got in the beach, they were like, you know what, guys, everybody's gonna spar everybody, and if you don't do well, you go home. And we are like,
so all of you actually sparred each other. Wow.
No, not like we were paired. So it's like you against you, and you against you, and people, lots of people were watching. The management of AKO were watching. Everybody who had anything to do with AKO, was right there watching. The camera crew, everybody, and everyone got in there and they did their thing, and they picked the least 4 people, and like, sorry guys, you have to go. And right there we were split into teams, so we had 2 coaches, and based on our performance, and mind you, we were already we were in quarantine for about 2 weeks, 10 days thereabout, before the day we had to actually go to the main place. So we had been training all through, and I could tell the coaches were really like spotting out everyone. And so right after they got out the 4 people, the coaches had to pick their team. And I remember the 2 coaches had to arm wrestle literally to pick me. It's like because they were like, so who do you want first in your team? It's like, I want Segun. And who do you want first in your team? I'm like, I want Segun. Oh yeah, you people have to arm wrestle for it too. And they literally arm wrestle, and like Onoja is a freakishly strong man, by the way. And he won, of course, and I got into his team. I was the team captain, and we were split into 2 teams, and we had to name our team. We ended up being Team White Wolf and Team Steel, and it was 7 people on each team. And every week we were, paired, and we had 6-hour training every day.
Wow. Wait, 6 hours?
6 hours training.
Straight up or broken up?
Oh no, not straight up. So in the morning we had 4 hours. In the evening we had 2.
Wow.
4 hours is ridiculous. So was it strength and conditioning? Was it?
It was a bit of everything, but they were very particular about training kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. So sometimes we would do some strength training, but sometimes instead we would do kickboxing and jiu-jitsu. So say we start training at 6 or 7 a.m. in the morning. Sometimes it goes all the way to 8 or 10. But then it's like, we're not going anywhere. It's like Big Brother house. We weren't allowed to go around or anything. So
But I have a question. Did you start seeing injuries pop up?
Oh yes, there were lots of injuries.
You
have to be.
In fact, there were some athletes who are still injured till now as we speak.
That's terrible.
Yes, and that's unfortunate, but this is what it is. And I too still have a few things here and there, but you know, it's things I can manage and get by with. But some other people were not so fortunate. Anyways, from the first 2 fights, we had some injuries that were serious. I remember the first 2 bouts with the first 4 guys. 2 people of those 4 guys were injured all through the competition. And one of them couldn't fight until the last few weeks.
Wow.
Because his foot was messed up.
Wow.
The other guy's knee was messed up.
That's terrible.
It was
this
a bit here and there.
What kind of medical care were they giving you guys?
Well, they had okay medical care, to be honest, but I think it could have been better.
Wow.
So if you were to critique, how did the show end for you, by the way? What position?
So I came out second runner-up, 3rd position. I lost the semi-final, and well, I had hoped to be in the final, right? But you know, it is what it is. And
how did you lose, if you mind me asking?
I lost by decision.
Okay.
I lost by decision. And the dude who I had to face was a friend, a very good friend. In fact, we spoke some days ago. So it felt, it was a bit, I think the main challenge was fighting my friend than, you know,
that's a very tough spot.
I think
not just a friend, a teammate.
So
we are teammates as well. Wow. Thank you for that. We are teammates.
You have to quit somebody else's dream too.
You know, it was really tough, and even in the house. And ironically, we also were in the same house, and we got even closer as friends. You know, we would talk a lot, we would hang out a lot. And I remember when the tables came out that we were supposed to fight the following week. Everybody in the house is like, what? How do you guys pair these 2 guys? Like, if we were going to fight the final, it would be like, okay, you know what? You know, anybody, you could take it. I don't mind. But we got paired in the semi-final, and it was brutal. Everybody was, you know, the camera crew were like, what? Because we would always hang together and, you know, we would chill and talk and laugh. And, you know, we were best of friends. And Ndidi is an amazing person generally, and he's also very experienced. He has fought in the EFC as well. He's very good at grappling. His jiu-jitsu is decent, and he's one of those calm people you look like, this guy cannot hurt a fly, but man,
don't mess
you know, he brings the A game when it's needed. And thankfully, I remember one of the camera guys made a comment. He's like, whoever wins between you and this guy is going to win this show. And I'm like,
did your friend win?
Yes, he did win.
Wonderful.
So, in a way, I feel fulfilled. You know, I feel happy for him. That
lost to the winner.
You know, I lost to the winner, so I'm
that's right.
The best guy there.
And you pushed him to a decision too.
Yes, exactly. So it was a good.
I have another question, if you don't mind.
Hit me.
How good were they about managing the weight differences between fighters? Because some of the guys I saw looked. You're a big guy, but they looked bigger than you. And so I don't know if that was taken seriously in the way the cast was put together.
It was. The competition was supposed to be amongst only middleweights.
Okay.
So people between 77 to 85, 86 kilos. And some people were a bit under or a bit above.
Okay.
And you know, we're all fighters. Like, some people feel like, you know what, I can add some kilos before the time. Some feel like I can lose some before the time. And they did their best to try to manage that. Some people fell short of that mark, but it wasn't much. So
wait, you're trying to tell me that guy that lied about his age?
Yeah.
That lied about his age.
Well, his age was not true, that's for sure. So I remember
the way this guy says
it's not true.
Because
you don't have the facilities for this.
We clowned him about that age thing, because we weren't allowed to see the episodes they put out, but we got to see the first episode. And that was one of the first things that came out on the first episode. I'm Mr. 22. And I still remember the day we were all seated in the sitting room, and they played it because we were very eager to see it. Like, let's see what we look like. And there were a few guys who didn't make the cut, and we wanted to see those things they were doing because it was funny anyways. And when he's like, I don't come here, can't joke with anybody, and they're like, how old are you? I was born 1960. Hey, everyone's like, what? Well, he's a cool guy at the same time. It was just
do what you have to do to survive.
So he's a cool guy at the end of the day. I guess he was doing what he had to do. But then, we know.
That's good.
So if you were to give your critique, that's the first major MMA promotion, and from all indications, MMA is the future. If you were to critique what your experiences, now I'm saying focus on the negatives of that experience for you, and if you were to give advice to any upcoming promotions as to what you think they should focus on the most, what would it be?
Okay, so negatives, I feel like they should put in more effort into nutrition and medical care. First, off the back, I think they very, very much downplay the importance of these things in combat sports generally. So it's not even just MMA. And advice for anyone who's looking to do the same thing or better: prepare your money because it's expensive. And they really need to put in some effort into management and planning. I feel like they came short as regards some planning and management things, some things shouldn't have happened the way they did, and there's a bunch of them, and you guys only see what's shown on the screens, but behind the scenes a lot of things didn't play out as well as they should have. It came out okay, but it could have been better. It could have been way better. So maybe better planning and still more effort into medical care, more effort into nutrition, and the training was perfect. We had this guy, he's a third degree black belt in jiu-jitsu. He came from Brazil, Paulo Azambuja, big ups to you. And I learned so much from that man in a few months. I felt like, damn, you feel like you've learned a lot, and he was well versed. He was like, he's probably the best. He is the best I've seen. Right? He had an answer to every question. He understood every single. I remember he would say, everybody say details, and we all say details. It's like, so you do this and you do that and you do that. It's like, okay, that's why you do this, that's why you do that. And anybody who does jiu-jitsu understands it is very, very detailed. It's very, one very little. In fact, there's probably techniques where moving your arm from here to here is all the difference it takes to hit a particular technique. And he could really hit those things spot on. He was an all-round lovely guy. He would go on the streets and try to spar with those Lagos boxers. And I think they made a few videos of it. He was a very outgoing guy. He was nice. He would come, he would talk to us, he would try to like push us. It's like, listen, these dudes want to take your money, you have to go in there. And he would try to give you all the moral support. Well, for him it wasn't about the pay, and he said it a lot of times, and I don't think the pay was his major motivation for coming. I think just being exposed to being around Africa, like foreigners call it, and they forget that Africans are very different. But like being here, inside joke. So I think for him it was just about the exposure and getting here, getting exposed to the people.
Okay.
So that's my opinion.
We're about to run out of time. We're like 1 minute left. So I want you to round up by telling us what's next for you and what are your dreams.
Reading my mind.
So first off, I'm a huge believer in growing the sport. So first things first, I want to grow the sport, and whatever has to happen for that to happen, I'll be okay with. So now what I mean is, I want to grow the sport. That's my main goal. So if I have to compete, or I have to get out there and do whatever I need to do, I don't mind. If it helps to build a good resume for a good platform I can leverage on, and which would help me grow the sport. If it's in the aspect of getting more experience or getting more money or getting more connections, that just help me understand better and know better what to do, when to do, how to grow it as a business, how to grow the sport and make it. I hope in 10 years from now, I want to be able to host kickboxing competitions in Abuja. I want to have people come from all over Nigeria to compete. They want to be in the ABV kickboxing competition. Or, I want to have young athletes anywhere from 10 years to 25 that want to compete, and we would help and just better yourself, better me, and better Nigeria. So
just one more thing, even though we've gone above time. Before you've mentioned about 2 different people that that have competed in EFC, which means you have ties to the EFC. You're sitting down beside someone who actually helps them scout as well.
Okay.
Have you considered going there to compete?
Yes, I have considered it, and if I do find an opportunity, I would definitely exploit it. And I feel like I have everything it takes to compete amongst the best of the best. And if, when I get into that circle, I'm not up to par, just give me 6 months, and I would get there, and I would do whatever needs to be
having
done.
spoken to you, I don't doubt it. I just feel like you have that drive.
I will get there, and I will do what needs to be done, whatever it is. If it's soap, bring the soap. Let's do it. Call the soap for me. Let's do it. So,
on the upside, you're just 28.
You're just 28.
You're at least 7 years shy of your prime. So you're good.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
I have a feeling I'm going to see you on EFC.
Maybe even better. So
make that happen, man.
Thank you, bro. Thank you, bro. I like the good wishes. Thank you.
All right, guys. Anybody, anything extra?
Man, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, this was the Combat Culture Africa podcast with Machine Gun Shegz.
Yeah.
We're definitely to have him on again, right?
For sure.
You're gonna come on board, help us review some
Anytime.
fights,
Anytime.
Okay, as usual, everybody, Combat Culture Africa on Instagram, Combat Culture AF on Twitter, combatcultureafrica@gmail.com if you want to send us an email. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Combat Culture Africa. On 3, 2, 1.
Peace, people.